All right, hey, Age Lead Store fans. We once again have a great guest with our ongoing, weekly sales training. We've asked John Bachmann from Social Survey to come alongside of us. He comes from the insurance industry, so most of you, I know we've got some mortgage, we've got some solar folks. There's definitely a lot of information for you as well. But John comes from the insurance industry. Got quite the reputation speaking and presenting and giving local insurance agents a lot of practical information. So welcome, John. You want to give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Hey, Bill, thanks so much for that. Yeah, so like you said, I was a veteran to the insurance industry. Worked for nearly 20 years within two different carriers, mostly on the claims side, but I was actually involved in customer experience roles or CX roles back before that was a thing. Now it seems like every company has some derivation of a CX role. From there, I joined the team at Social Survey. And Social Survey, for those of you not familiar with us, it's a customer feedback and marketing automation platform that helps agencies win their local market and ultimately drive in more revenue. But I joined the team there because they were doing some crazy things that I never thought I'd expect to see when I was working on the carrier side. And it's helping those agencies, agency networks, and carriers as well.
Awesome. And so one of the things that you're passionate about, and I've heard you speak on before, is just kind of the aspect of using social as a part of your selling process, as a part of your sales system. We talk all the time about having a system so that you can efficiently, through automation and just routine and habit building, build out a good sales process. Against, in particular for us at the Age Lead Store, a lot of times we're working, interestingly enough, internet leads. So these people have already inquired online and asked to be contacted. But a lot of our insurance agents are sort of old school, right? They still get the majority of their business from referrals. They love sitting across the kitchen table, so to speak. And they like to network with other partners and other professionals in their local community. But give us a little bit of understanding of how maybe you can do some of those things through social selling or even leveraging online.
Yeah, so the first thing you brought up a great topic that we can go off on a tangent here for a bit is talking about referral business. So in my line of work, if I ever hear somebody saying referral business is dying or it's dead, they're either lying to you or they're trying to sell you something. Referral business is not dead. It's just evolved. It's evolved in the way it works. Think of years past. If somebody said, hey, check out the Bachmann agency, normally what I do is I pick up my phone and I give a call. But now what's happening is Bill tells me, check out the Bachmann agency. I'm pulling out my phone, but I'm not calling. I'm doing my research. I'm looking on Google to see what other people are saying about you. I'm checking review sites. I'm doing a little bit of research because consumers are so much more educated than they were in the past because information is readily available. So when we know about these electronic referrals, we need to make sure that we're giving the best reputation of our businesses so everybody can see the best of us, right? And you brought up social selling. That's a big topic that I talk about quite a bit. And all that social selling is using your current client base and their sphere of influence to help drive in more leads. So their friends, their family, their social media connections, those types of people to help drive in more business and bring in more revenue.
Yeah. So how do you start to build that platform? I know one of the things that we talk to our clients about a lot of times is they are getting an internet lead. So they made an inquiry, but the nature of internet leads is they're not necessarily making an inquiry directly with you, the Bachmann agency, if you just continue to use that kind of analogy. They've inquired and said, hey, have some insurance agents call me so that I can get the best deal and you kind of do the shopping for me. And like you said, we always tell them the first thing they do when you leave that voicemail because nobody answers their phone, or you send that first email, or maybe you send that first text message, like you described, the first thing they do is they go check out those four people that contacted them. And so in doing that, assuming that they're doing that, you described the same thing, even through just straight referral business, like where do you start? How do you set that platform up? How do you, this seems to be almost like voodoo to a lot of people. Like, how do you show up online? Where do you start?
Yeah. So a couple of things. We could talk about tactics about driving people over to you first, but one thing I want to touch on that I probably should have talked about it in a presentation I gave yesterday is your website. That
Yeah.
is your digital storefront. And no matter where people are coming from, whether it be Google, from leads, from social media, if they're clicking over and then they're finding you and they look at your website, and your website is from 1992 when the internet was just getting big, forget about it. You need to have an updated website with great information that's easily accessible. That's key, because that's where you're going to be sending people. That's going to be the call to action in the long run. So that needs to be the basis. You have a good website, a lot of information that's easily accessible. But how do we get people over there? So there's a bunch of different things I talk about, whether it be reviews, referrals, social media, but we need to start with Google. I tell this awful joke over and over again. People get sick of it. I get sick of saying it, but we live in Google's world. And let me step back. Now I'm screwing up my own joke. It's Google's world. We're just lucky enough to live in it. So we need to abide by Google. And the best way to do that is to understand of what Google is thinking about when they're trying to find businesses when people are doing a search. So let's say I'm trying to find the best steak restaurant, and I'm sitting here in Boston, Massachusetts. I just type in best steak restaurant. And as a consumer, I'm expecting Google to show me a great steak restaurant that's close to me. If they send me to a sushi restaurant, I'm not going to be happy. If they send me to someplace that's an hour away, I'm not going to be happy, and I'm going to stop using that search engine. That's why Google has to be right all the time. Good thing is when people are doing searches about the best insurance agency or the best mortgage loan officer or the best solar installer, those all have local intent. And that is very key to Google. Google is hyper local. They want to make sure they're getting that information, just like that steak restaurant. And then people inevitably ask me, okay, that's all fine and good, but what does Google decide is the difference between who shows up first and who shows up 31st? And the way Google sets this up is what they refer to as their authority score. And their authority score takes in a bunch of factors, but there are 5 main factors that take up about 80% of this authority score. So people that are watching, write this stuff down right now. The first thing is their Google My Business page. Make sure it's claimed, and it's claimed for all of your locations. The second is backlinking signals. When you're guest blogging for somebody else and you're signaling it back, or you're linking back to your website. Third is review signals. And it's not just Google My Business reviews, it's reviews on Yelp, Better Business Bureau, ClearSurance for insurance agents, those types of sites, third-party review sites. Then we have on-page signals. What is showing up on your web page? I can't tell you how many times I go out on to an insurance agent's website and I'm looking over their site, and the only time they mention insurance or agency is in their name. And it's not mentioned anyplace else. That doesn't help Google find you. And then finally is what's referred to as citation signals or business listing signals. And what that means is where your business shows up on hundreds of different websites. Think of not only Google, but Bing, City Search, Foursquare, it goes on and on and on. You need to make sure.
I still find people use MapQuest.
Right, yeah. You just need to make sure that your information is accurate, up to date, and consistent with all the other spots. And if you master those 5 things, that's going to help you in the Google search listings.
Yeah. Well, that's, I mean, it sounds like a lot of work to have all those sites. Like, is there a way, and maybe we're how do you kind of, I guess I have 2 questions in particular that I run into. One, how do you just kind of efficiently, get all that information out there and get it consistent against all those different sites, many of which probably insurance agents don't even know about? I guess that's the first question. And then the second question, I want to dig in a little bit on the review process and how do you actually get those reviews in there? Because I think people are they're always a little nervous, or they don't have a system around getting reviews.
Yeah, in terms of business listings, I know, I just told you about 100 different sites and you need to make sure you're on them. That's a full-time job for one person. If you have a marketing person, that's all they do is update that information. obviously that's hard as hell and it's difficult. There are people out there that provide services that are able to do it all from one place. Yext is a company that focuses purely on that. At Social Survey, we actually have a product that you're able to do that. So
Okay.
in both of those, you fill out the information, what's referred to as NAP data, name, address, phone number, but hours of operation, different content, those things. You put it in one place and it gets published on all the other sites. So that there are ways to automate it and make it easier, because it like I said, it's a full-time job, and most agencies out there don't have somebody that can just focus on that.
Yeah.
In,
Well, kind of the next thing to the review point, because I really want to, I don't want to miss that, because I run into a lot of loan officers. I came out of the mortgage industry, insurance as well. I'll go check them out for the first time, and they've got like one or two reviews, and those probably just happened, without any prompting and just accidentally, or maybe it's their mom or whatever. But I guess two questions in reviews is, one, how do you really get those reviews up there? How do you get a significant amount of reviews? And then the second one's, maybe where do you choose to focus? Do you send them all to Google? Do you send them all to Yelp? Is there any sort of logic or best practice as to kind of where those reviews should be?
well, I'll take the second part first, and I'll say yes. You need to focus on all of them. So Google, obviously, it's Google's world. We're lucky enough to live in it. That's second time today. You need to focus on them first because they're so important. But you still need to segment out your customers and make sure your Facebook recommendations, Better Business Bureau, Yelp, it goes on and on and on. You need to make sure that they're showing up there, because even though they're not Google reviews, Google is crawling those sites, and they want to see the sentiment of your customer base as well. They want to see if they're happy with what you're providing. And the Google crawlers that are searching the internet, they are looking for that. So that's the second part. The first part is it's crazy because customers, they want to leave reviews. It's just a matter of asking and making it easy.
Yeah.
Asking and making it easy are the two main components. When I'm talking to insurance agents, typically if they're trying to start out a new review process, I tell them start at two different transactions that are common across the board. When you bind a new policy or you're renewing a policy. When those transactions are occurring, they're happy with you. They're saying, here's my money, I want to do business with you. So that's a good time to ask. But when you're asking, it can't be like an automated send, like, dear customer, thanks so much. Can you check out our Google site and leave us a review? It needs to be, hey, Bill, we appreciate your business. We understand your transaction with John went well. Do you mind leaving us a review? So that's the ask. But then when you're making it easy, you can't just tell them to go out to my Google page or go out to Facebook recommendations. Provide them with a link that drives them directly into the review panel. And not just going to your Google My Business page, but to the actual review panel. Because the second you tell them to go out and look, you might have multiple locations. They'll look and say, which one do I leave it? And as soon as there's friction, they're not leaving you a review. You make it easy. You ask them at the right time. And then if you're able to automate it, asking in the right time, like a lot of our CRMs or agency management systems, loan origination systems for the mortgage folks out there, as those transactions that you want reviews about, have that automated. I know a lot of agencies run onboarding campaigns when they first sign up a new customer, and it's a series of emails. Have one of those emails or a text be an ask for a review.
Yeah, no, I think we talk a lot about automating email, and I think that's a really important sequence, is just to have, even I've seen some people do some clever things on reviews in particular, because you never know exactly, some transactions don't go perfectly they'll do like a net promoter score first. It's like, hey, how do you rate our service? And then all the good ones, of course, get the second email that says, hey, why don't you review us? And like you said, I would emphasize people go get the right link, and they make that so much easier. Used to, Google, you'd have to click through a bunch of things and explore it. Now they send you right to that little pop-up modal.
Yeah, absolutely. We deal with a lot of companies that are multi-location. And that's the biggest thing that I've seen is people, they go out and they look up ABC company, and there's 3 or 4. And as soon as there's a question and that friction comes in, they're less likely to leave a review because it's more difficult for them, or they just leave it and it could be the improper location. And then is that the right data that you want for backend? Where are you rewarding your producers or your loan officers for great reviews? And if so, is it going in the right place? And if it's a negative review, is it going in the right place where you can learn from that and change things up? So again, making it easy, sending them in the right direction is a key step.
Yeah. Awesome. So as we wrap up, I want to ask you kind of the number one question that I always get, particularly around social media. Let's assume that the agent that we're talking to or the loan officer isn't really doing this today. Like, where's the first or maybe top three places? Like, which social media channel should I be on? Facebook? Should I be on Instagram? Should I be on Twitter? Where should I start?
This is one that I struggle with a bit because I try to get a taste in all of them, all the new ones. And I actually just signed up for one the other day called minds.com. Never even heard of it, but I saw that it's up and coming. It's a social media, so I joined. But the thing is, time is a valuable commodity. And if you start downloading every single one of the social media, you're going to drown yourself. You're not going to have time. What's most important is to know where your audience is. And once you know where your audience is, that's where you need to be speaking. If your demographics tend to be 35 to 55-year-old females, Facebook is a place for you, which it's crazy. That's a fastest growing demographic on Facebook. Is that age group for females. If your product is different than insurance and whatnot, maybe Instagram, where you can take a picture. Restaurants, they can take pictures of their food. But Facebook, Instagram, TikTok is huge right now. TikTok is huge because of the eyes that are on it, the audience, and the way you can organically get your message out. But to be honest, I'm not sure how to use it just yet. So for folks that aren't familiar with it, TikTok initially came as Musical.ly was an app where it was younger folks that were lip syncing to songs, and it was video clips of lip syncing to songs, and it's evolved since then. And I see a lot of businesses now that are using it and trying to figure out how to get in front of that audience, because it's the fastest growing social media platform right now. But I totally avoided your question about which ones they should be on. If you're able to and you have the resources, try to be on all of them, but it's where your audience is key. For me personally, my audience tends to be, because I'm business to business, LinkedIn. I try to be as visible as possible on LinkedIn, but I try to be on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just as much.
Yeah.
TikTok.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. Just figuring out that audience and who's in each one of those channels. And, the other thing that, I tell some people is kind of the same advice I give on CRM, right? The best CRM is the one you'll use. So if you, or maybe somebody in your office, is just comfortable or just likes to hang out somewhere, like if you, you've got somebody in your office that's doing TikToks in the corner secretly, then, figure out how to make them your TikTok social media manager. But yeah, it's hard to figure these out. And I'm kind of like you too. I've got like Bill Rice on Twitter. It's because Twitter wasn't much of a thing, at first, and so I got in there real quick. So that's good advice. So we definitely need to wrap up our time. So to our audience, you're definitely going to want to follow John. He's got lots of great content. Like I said, a speaker. There's a bunch of videos that he's done. John, if people want to follow you and want to understand more about this social media and social selling, where can they go to find you?
Yeah, so if they want to find out more about Social Survey, you can go out to socialsurvey.com. For the insurance folks, we have a specific insurance page. So it's socialsurvey.com/insurance. Be sure to check that out. Me personally, I'm on all the social media, like we just said. Feel free to reach out. I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, you name it. Try to find me, Instagram. And then also I co-host a video series of insurance called The Insurance Nerdery, which is produced by the insnerds.com. You can find us on youtube.com/c/theinsurancenerdery. So you can see a lot of commentary videos about the insurance industry.
Yeah, you should definitely check that out. That's actually how I found John from the INS Nerdery, and then kind of wandered into Twitter, and he's super responsive. And so if you got questions, check him out on Twitter as well. So thanks, John, for being here. A whole nother aspect that we haven't really covered, but I think it fits really well if you're buying leads, or even if you're not, if you're just kind of trying to build your book of business in insurance, you got to get this foundation right. This is what everybody's looking at. This is your reputation. All right. Thanks, John.
Hey, thanks so much for your time, Bill. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye-bye.